Hello, everyone. I am sitting at my parents' garage. I'm back home now. I'm here for a week to just hang out with fam and hang out with my doggos and spend some time. And I had a break in between meetings and I was eating lunch and I was thinking about something that I wanted to talk about for a while on this channel, but I realized probably the best way to do this is just pick up the camera and just chat from the heart, because I like this kind of videos. I like watching these kinds of videos where, people are just having a conversation. I feel like I'm having a conversation with whoever's listening, and that's the kind of vibe that I'm going for in this channel, and talking about different topics that are important to me and things that I've thought about, but hopefully also relates to anyone that's watching, because it is kind of, universal concepts that I want to cover. So in this video, I thought, let's talk about friendships. Where do I even begin? So I think growing up, we all have this idea that, you become friends with someone, you meet someone probably through school or whatever activity that you are consistently going through, and, become close with someone. And, you always think when you meet a friend that you're going to be friends with this person forever and ever, and you guys will always stay in touch and things will never change. And what a naive little girl I was. And now that I'm a little bit older and hopefully a little bit wiser, I have gone through some friendship breakups in the last couple years, actually, and it's taught me a lot. And it's taught me a lot about just friends and what it means to be a friend, and boundaries, and the fact that life is really, a lot of things in life is very ephemeral, and nothing is guaranteed to be long lasting, no one can really control that. So I wanted to share a personal anecdote without obviously revealing any names and delving too much into it, but just to set the context in terms of why it's so hard to kind of get out of toxic friendships, especially when it's someone that you maybe have known for so long. Because usually what I found is that in most cases, maybe it's someone that you met early in your life at one point in your life, and maybe you were really close to that person. And, ideally, the friendship continues to grow as both parties continue to grow, right? That's an ideal situation. And sometimes that doesn't happen, maybe because you're growing at a different rate than the other person, or the other person's growing at a different rate. Either way, something's not lining up, and sometimes there's certain friendships that just run its course. Either you lose touch and you just grow apart, and that's totally normal, and that's something that happens a lot in life, as people grow up and different priorities take over in your life. But I think something that I really want to touch on in this video is on the topic of toxic friendships, because I think it's, again, really hard to know that you're in a toxic friendship when you're in one. And sometimes by the time that, you're even able to establish boundaries or maybe cut that person out of your life, it's probably already I don't want to say too late, but it's at that point, it's so many boundaries have been crossed that this is the only option, right? So my personal anecdote is just about this friend that I had, that I grew up with. And this person was a really close friend of mine. I called that person my best friend, for so long. And everything was fine. Everything was good when we were growing up. And, we had our normal fights, and we definitely had conflicts, and we were always able to talk about it and talk through it. But at some point when and I think this happened because like once I started growing up and realized what boundaries even were and like what it means to have a friendship that's being reciprocated, I realized that this person did not have my best interest in mind. And I realized that our friendship was really based off of that person's convenience. And there were just a lot of other toxic factors involved, lots of boundaries being crossed, lots of jealousy, lots of like comparison, to the point where in my head, I already labeled this person as like, oh, like that's how this person thinks. That's something that this person needs to deal with. This is just normal. But then it's not normal, because that's, you know, when someone is not dealing with their own issues and all of that kind of spills over in a friendship, and you end up being the one that has to carry this burden or ends up making excuses for this person, and letting multiple boundaries of yours be crossed because this person is, you know, not even aware of that, and you have to make these sacrifices for them. That's not a friendship that's being reciprocated. And in this specific friendship, like, we've had many conversations in the past about just problems that we were going through, and you know, that person would always apologize and be like, yeah, you know, I'll work on this, or I'm sorry, and like say whatever like they thought that I wanted to hear right in the moment. And I've always been like, okay, great, like I'm glad that you're apologizing, I appreciate that, and was hoping that things would be fine, but it wasn't. And I think that's when I ended up having to cut this person off, is when I realized that like it was all talk. There was no action behind the things that were being said. I was always there for that person, always willing to listen to them, always was happy with things that were going on in their life. But that person was not reciprocating that. Now, when you're cutting someone out of your life, especially someone that was really close to you at some point in your life, that's a very hard decision, you know? And I feel like a lot of the times we talk a lot about like, you know, breakups in society, and like there's so many conversations around that, but there's not many conversations around friendship breakups. Like there's conversations about romantic breakups, but we don't talk enough about friendship breakups. And I feel like friendship breakups are really important, and even more so painful in some cases than, you know, breaking up with a romantic partner. And in some ways that kind of bond is special, especially when that person has been someone that you've also really trusted with a lot of information, and you were really hoping that person would be there for your whole life. And when suddenly you face the prospect that maybe they're not a great person in your life and it's doing more harm to keep them in your life, that's really hard. At the end of the day, I think a lot of us don't realize I have agency. Like I have the choice to let whoever I want into my life. Like that's my choice. I don't need to feel obligated to anyone. I shouldn't be making excuses for people that don't care about me. I shouldn't be carrying and holding space for someone that's not holding space for me. And I shouldn't be feeling like talking to them like I'm walking on eggshells when I'm talking to them, right? Like that's not what a friend is. A true friend is someone who's going to hold space for you, who respects you, who understands your boundaries, and is there for you no matter what, and also knows when to give you space and doesn't take that personally. And I think like sometimes we mistake like certain people who like want to be really involved in our life and like cross a lot of boundaries and get offended when we don't share things with them as like, oh, that person really just wants to be close to me. Like they consider me a close friend, but I don't think that's a true measure of like how close you are to someone. I think how close you are to someone should really depend on, like, it should be a foundation of respect and trust. Knowing that, you know, your closeness as a friend doesn't depend on the information you share with each other, or the timing of the information you share, or like how much time you spend together. Like, it should be based off of this mutual trust, respect of each other's space and boundaries. And of course, like, both parties need to make an effort in keeping this relationship going. So of course there needs to be some sort of time spent together, or like catching up, or making sure that you are always checking in on each other. And that's something I realized, you know, especially in the last couple of years, when I met more people who actually respected me, respected my boundaries, would check in on me in a very respectful way, and would hold space for me if I needed it, but wouldn't feel bad if I didn't share something, or wouldn't feel bad that I had like a new person in my life, or like new friends in my life, and wouldn't feel like jealous or anything. Like, that's when I realized, like, friendship shouldn't be about, there shouldn't be this kind of like ownership, or like this kind of like, oh, like, you are my best friend, you're my friend, and you can't have any other friends. Like, that is very high school-esque behavior. And as I grow up now in my 20s, I'm realizing that, like, I just don't have the energy nor the desire to keep people in my life that think like that. And you know, when you're in a very toxic friendship, just like any relationship, it is very hard to know that you're in one when you're in one. And sometimes you need to kind of get yourself out of that situation, or get some space, or take a break to really realize like what is this friendship? Like, what is the foundation of this friendship? Is this friendship built on trust and mutual respect and like boundaries? Or is it based off of just, you know, like, I don't even know, like, is it based off of just like obligation? Because if it is based off of obligation, and you're only friends with someone just because you feel like you need to be, or you need to be there for them, but you're not getting any of your needs met, you're not getting anything in return, that's not a good situation. I think it's important to really trust your instinct, and your body knows when something's wrong. Like, when you feel like you can't share as much, or you're kind of walking on eggshells with someone, and you're not able to like be yourself authentically with someone, that's a problem. That's something I'm so glad I realize now. And even though I had to go through like a couple of different painful friendship breakups, it really reinforced this concept of how important it is to speak up your boundaries and your needs, and how amazing it feels actually to take back that power and control of your inner circle, and who you're associating yourself with, and who you're letting into your life. Editing Sabrina here, interrupting your broadcast about friendship. So I'm editing right now, and I have hit the 14-minute mark, guys, and there's still like 10 more minutes left in this video, and I really gotta cut myself off now, or I'm just never gonna shut up about this. So I didn't really get to properly end this video, so that's why I'm here. I hope this video was enjoyable, relatable, insightful, any of those things, hopefully. But clearly it's something that I have been grappling with, so I wanted to share with you guys. And if you've gone through similar experiences, or going through something similar, I would love to hear about it. Let me know down below. And yeah, we're in this together, and I just want healthy relationships and friendships for all of us. So let's make that happen, and appreciate you guys as always for being here and tuning in. I will see you real soon in another video.